So Kiah, before we dive into any of our topics today, I do want to ask you, what's a song that's been replaying in your head for the past few days?
It would definitely have to be Hiatus Coyote's Stoner Lavender.
Great choice.
I love the piano chords. It's just like a really vibey song, and it always uplifts my spirits. Because I know the main singer, Na'imah, she, from what I heard, wrote it when she was going through her cancer treatment, and it was supposed to be like this really uplifting thing, and I got a lot of that from her, so I really enjoyed it. Yeah.
Okay. In a lot of ways, I can relate. I think this color actually reminds me of that song, like you were mentioning with the piano chords. There's something about it. It's all beautiful.
Yes.
Okay, then. Can you share a little bit about your background with us pertaining to self-image and colorism growing up?
I would say it started when I had to be around 3rd or 4th grade. I knew that I was Black. I didn't know that being dark-skinned was, I guess, a thing.
Right.
I just knew, like, I'm Black, this is what my skin looks like, cool. But my mother is of a lighter skin complexion, so I was always able to identify that because I can see color, but I didn't look at it as anything to beat myself up about, or I didn't look at it as anything that was to be ashamed of. It wasn't until around, like I said, the 3rd or 4th grade in my, I guess, extended family where I started to get comments from cousins that were lighter skinned, where they would turn off the lights and they would be like, oh, where's Kiah? They would do it to me and my sister. Yeah, like, where's Kiah? And it kind of shocked me in a way, because I was just like, what? Like, what? Like, what is this? I knew it wasn't something to be like jokey about, but I couldn't really say anything for myself. I just knew, like, this is something that they're saying. I don't like it. It doesn't make me feel good, but I'm just gonna kind of keep rolling with the punches because I don't want to be that one cousin that's just like, oh, they said. So I just kind of like kept going with it, and like as the years progressed, I just continuously heard the same thing. And at one point, I began to kind of like look around my family, and I would notice like, this uncle, he's darker skinned, light skinned woman, or this uncle, he's darker skinned, white woman. I was just like, where are all the women that look like me? Like, where is that at? And as I hit my teenage years, it kind of just got worse. And I don't think until maybe I hit my mid-20s, which is not saying a lot considering I'm 27, is when I was able to really accept myself beyond everything that I had taken in as a child and as a teenager and through the media and everything else. Yeah.
Okay. And so when you started to get older and develop more of a sense of just looking around your family and seeing like there aren't so many other women that look exactly like me, would you say that the balance or the imbalance was easy for you to pick up, or was it more so like I kind of have to struggle to find my way or feel accepted in this side of the family or this side of the family?
I don't think it was necessarily a struggle to like find myself per se, because when I picked up on it, I kind of like immediately was like, oh, okay, this is what this is, and I don't see it changing. So it's just kind of like, okay, I have to move with this and navigate this however I see fit. But it was just always something that it's like once I saw it, it was like an awakening. I couldn't unsee it. Like I couldn't stop thinking about like, this is so like vastly different. Like I have one aunt on my mom's side that's darker skinned, and my mom, when she would describe her childhood growing up, she would always say that my aunt felt like the black sheep. And I didn't know why, because I'm like, they get along so well. Like she fits into the family. Like what is this whole thing? And it's like, I think I know why she would feel like that. And my mom's like beyond her immediate family, going deeper into the family, they get even lighter. So I can see how she would feel. Like I don't feel, not necessarily wanted, but I don't feel the same level of attention or community, whatever, togetherness as her lighter skinned siblings and relatives.
I feel that. Yeah. And when you did become older, did you find it easier or harder to start to stand up for yourself, especially against your family? Because I know you said that you don't want to be like
Yeah.
the disruptive cousin, like the lame cousin, but
Yeah.
was there anyone you could ever run to and be like, hey, they're saying this about me and that wasn't cool, or hey, I don't like how y'all are talking to me? Like, was there ever a moment like that?
I wish there was someone I felt like I could talk to. I feel like even, like, my mother has never made it a point to tell me that, you know, I'm different in any way. She's always made me and my sister feel like, you know, we're beautiful. And if anything, she's lumped herself in together with me and my other darker skin siblings. Like, oh, I'm dark skinned too. And we're just like, Mommy, no, you're not. She never wanted to make me feel as though I was
Outcast.
yeah, or anything like that. So I wish there was somebody I could have gone to. But for me, I think I just, as I grew older and kind of just like that developing tough skin type thing, the comments start, like, I began to get a little more snappier with my words. So it's like, okay, if you're going to try to play me, now I have to try to, you know, come back at you. And that was my way of standing up to them. Or, you know, if they're going to fire off jokes, I have something to fire off. Exactly. Like, I have something for you too. But even then, I feel like I was standing up for myself, but I wasn't directly telling them, like, hey, you shouldn't say this about me, or I feel this type of way. I don't think I had at that point the words or the like vocabulary to name what I was feeling. I didn't even know it was colorism at that point. I just knew, like, this doesn't feel good.
Right.
Yeah.
And then speaking of colorism itself, would you say you have a personal definition of what that is or what it means to you?
So I would say colorism to me is a bias or prejudice against people of a darker skin tone. And I would say it goes deeper than beauty. It's political, it's systemic. We see it in, I guess, the medical field, where Black women are, you know, already have a hard time trying to get doctors to take them seriously. But I feel like when I think about, like, Serena Williams and her case, she's a darker skinned woman, and not only is she darker skinned, she's more muscular, so they feel the need to, I guess, draw into the whole strong Black woman trope. And that, I feel like, plays a lot into, like, our detriment when it comes to medical needs. And so I feel like it goes deeper than just beauty as well.
You're very right. It is very damaging just to know that because of how you appear, and also on top of that, your skin tone, you will be faced with the probability of not being taken seriously, even when it comes down to your life. That is so scary to think about. And even when it comes to, like, other than your appearance, just the backhanded compliments that I can imagine you've heard throughout your life, what would you say was the most backhanded thing you've heard from somebody else?
It was always, you're pretty, or a dark skinned girl. It was always always that follow-up. Or you would be this if you weren't dark skinned. And it's just like,
giving it to you and then snatching it
exactly. It's just like, why did you say this to me if that was, like, the follow-up? And it's like, okay, I'm pretty for a dark skinned girl. Like, if it wasn't for this, you know, like, one thing, like, you would be even prettier, or you would, you know, attract more, or whatever the case may be. So that always stung, and that's another thing that I didn't really know how to stand up for myself and say, I don't like that compliment, or hey, just simply don't give me a compliment if you can't find it in yourself to not say, for a dark-skinned girl.
Exactly.
So.
Because it does, and even me listening to that, it translates as straight up disrespect. Like, you're good, but you're not quite there yet. It's just that one, like you said. So I definitely feel you on that. So taking it back a little bit to your childhood experiences with colorism, and specifically thinking about your family and how that ties into watching your uncles and brothers and maybe, like, father figures choose women of lighter skin tones and complexions. How would you say that affected you growing up and making choices in your own personal relationships, or viewing yourself, and how worthy it made you feel to see them choose women or people that are lighter than yourself?
So I think around the age of 13 or 14, whenever I started to get, like, a little bit boy crazy, I had this thing, and I didn't know it until years later what I was doing. But I had this thing where I intentionally made it so that whatever boys I sought out or found attractive, I wanted them to be lighter skinned. And for me, it was like a punch in the face to all the black men in my family, like especially the darker skin ones, because I'm just like, well, if you don't like me, then I don't like you either. Like I don't want I don't want anybody that looks like you. And I didn't realize until years later, like I had internalized so much to the point where it began to affect the way, you know, I guess started navigating what would be like the beginning of relationships and just friendships, relationships with men or boys in general. So for me, it was definitely like, okay, I'm gonna get back at you for everything that you made me feel like I don't want to do with anything that's with any boy that's darker skin. Like I don't find them attractive. Like I had like a set list. It was like, okay, he's light skinned, he has curly hair, Sure, right. let's go. I'm like, sure, let's go with that. The farthest thing away. But in the end, it's just like. Now, I guess like I'm perpetuating the same things that they placed on me, but it was from a place of anger and hurt. And I wanted to be affirmed by them in all the ways that I felt like I didn't get and validated by them, especially like, you know, my dad, which is like, that's the first man that I knew. And it's not to say that he never validated me or affirmed me. But again, going back to what I saw, my mom is lighter complexion. I have two brothers, both of them, one dates majority white women. He doesn't even date black women. That's another story. But and then the other one, when he dates a spectrum of women, but when he does date black women, they tend to be lighter skinned as well. So it's like I'm not going crazy. I know everything that I'm seeing is true.
Exactly.
So yeah.
And then when it comes to dating outside of your race, was that ever an option for you, or were you just only looking for lighter skin in the black community?
I think it was just lighter skin within the black community. I don't know if the idea of dating outside of my race ever even really came to me, because it was just like, I don't know what I'm getting into venturing outside of my race now. It's just like I'm facing so much within my own community. Like what is on the other side of this? All these cultural differences. And I know, you know, there's colorism within other communities, but it's like I'll just stick with what I know right now and I'll stay here.
Comfort. I feel you. Do you have any advice for those who may be or may have been in a similar situation?
I would love to say it's as simple as, just start loving yourself. But since it's something that's so ingrained in like the fabric of the black community, I don't think it's just as simple as loving yourself outside of this thing, because there's so many things that impact, you know, what goes on. But I know for me, when I begin to shift out of that internalized colorism, out of this whole get back at the black men in my life, or the black men that I see in media or hear in the music that are like, straight up, I don't like dark skinned women. Like, it began to be a thing where it's just like, I had to think outside of myself in a way, and what I wanted to see in our community. And I know that I just didn't want to see the cycle continue, or at least if I had anything to do with, hey, let it stop at me. So because I wanted to see, so much, just more for the black community, wanted to see us, I guess, love on each other more. Like my heart for that was like bigger than my need to keep getting back in my own ways, my own specific ways. Like I wanted to see the darker skinned black girls be able to love on themselves freely and loudly. Because for me, at one point, it began to feel like it was kind of like this radical thing. Because for so long, I just felt like I can't either stand up for myself, or no one is really uplifting darker skinned black women. So how can I start doing that for myself, and how can I in turn take that to other black girls and black women? But I also wanted to see the same thing for the black men in my life and outside of my life. I know I wasn't the only one that struggled with colorism. I've heard comments from men, well, they don't like the color of their skin either, and I want them to see the beauty in themselves too. So I guess the advice would just be to think outside of yourself. Of course, love yourself, but I think there has to be some sort of desire to see an overall shift, just in a broader scope of the community, and just really wanted to see that change take place. Yeah.
So as you mentioned about being able to peel back layers and figure out exactly where the root of the issue is, I like that you mentioned that it's not as easy as just figuring out how to love yourself and then the problems will go away. It's not just live, laugh, love, and I'm done, you know? Yeah. So I really appreciate you for mentioning that, because it's so much more than a Black community thing as well. It's communities all over this globe are dealing with colorism, and just watching how it affects and breaks down the systems of working together in communities is kind of crazy, but we've got so much further to go. And I thank you so much for being so well spoken and for your time today. And I hope that you have a beautiful day.